السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد, and welcome to another video on the Islamic Knowledge YouTube channel. And in today's video, we're looking at an amazing commentary that has been written upon the book of Hadith, which is al-Tirmidhi of al-Imam al-Tirmidhi, which is part of the Kutub al-Sittah. And this is a commentary that has been written by a Bangladeshi scholar. Now, this commentary is actually 10 volumes. What I've got in front of me here is actually volume 1. So I am just looking at the first volume, which covers Kitab al-Tahara, and this is honestly one of the best commentaries that you can get your hands on right now, and it's just recently been printed and it's an amazing copy. And I want to speak about the unique features of this commentary upon Jami' al-Tirmidhi. Now, I teach Sunan Abi Dawud, and I'll be blatantly honest with you, without access to a codified commentary that covers every single hadith in Sunan Abi Dawud in a manner in which we have got all of the statements of the scholars along with all of their evidences, answers to all of the positions held by scholars and different positions and answers given by all different scholars. We don't have a comprehensive book on this topic. Now, we do have, when it comes to Sahih Muslim, we've got obviously commentaries written by al-Ithiobi. We've even got, when it comes to Sunan Ibn Majah, we've got 2 commentaries written by the Ithiobis. So we do have some books there, and obviously even those books, they have been questioned upon by certain people that say that these are just jama', these are books that have just gathered everything. But even that is beneficial when you're a teacher who has limited time, but you want to cover every hadith in as much detail and also benefit from your own perspective. Now, that's where this book comes in. It's titled Kifāyah al-Mughtadhī fi Sharh Jami' al-Tirmidhi, al-Jami' al-Mukhtasar, then the name of Imam al-Tirmidhi's book, al-Mujallad al-Awwal Kitab al-Tahara, and this is by a scholar whose name is Shaykh ʿAbd al-Mateen, and he is a Bangladeshi scholar. And I've always said this, that I feel Bangladeshi scholarship deserves some more recognition in terms of their books getting more widespread. Now, he started this book over 25 years ago, and that's not to say all 25 years he's been working on the book. There were periods wherein he says that he kind of left the book or he started working on other projects, but it was started 25 years ago. Now, the book starts off with a short introduction by Shaykh Ni'matullah al-A'zami, who's also the teacher of Shaykh Abd al-Mateen. And then you've got this really interesting introduction by Shaykh Mufti Abdul Malik, who presents 12 unique aspects of the book. And the one that I want to really touch upon is point 11. And you will see this in the commentary as you go through it, which is that Shaykh Abdul Malik says, اشتمال الشرح كما أشرت إليه على كثير من الزوائد والاستدراكات وفيها بوادر النوادر ونوادر البوادر والنكت الظراف والمستطرف المستجاد بحيث لو جردت لجاءت في مجلد لطيف وكثير منها من نوع استدراكات الحافظ ابن حجر رحمه الله تعالى في الفتح والإصابة واللسان واستدراكات العلامة al-Kashmiri rahimahullah ta'ala fi amali. So this book kind of critiques in certain places even Fathul Bari. I found it, honestly, it's a dream, it's a lifesaver. It has changed my life because the amount of time it would take me just to research one hadith in Sunan Abi Dawud, and you might be thinking, well, hold on, you teach Sunan Abi Dawud, what's this got to do? This is Jami' al-Tirmidhi. But the unique feature of it is that if you teach some of these Sunan books, they are going to cover chapters of fiqh. So you can just take your relevant chapter, read it from this sharah, and honestly, it serves as a brilliant commentary even for someone who doesn't actually even teach Jami' al-Tirmidhi. But if you teach Jami' al-Tirmidhi, you need to get a copy of this book ASAP, as soon as possible. The author mentions the books that he used in writing this book, and if you look at it, it's on page 18, and you can just see the amount of books he's benefited from. وقد راجعنا في شرح الحديث شروح القدماء من أمثال الطحاوي والخطابي وابن بطال وابن عبد البر وابن الجوزي ثم القاضي عياض والتوربشتي والقرطبي والنووي والعراقي والعيني والعسقلاني وعلي القاري وغيرهم. وفي حل الغريب عين الخليل ابن أحمد وغريب أبو عبيد والأبو عبيد والحربي وتهذيب الأزهري والصحاء الجوهري ثم مشارق القاضي ونهاية ابن الأثير ومصباح الفيومي وغيرها من الكتب. And he just carries on. He's even used the Ilal books, Ilal of Ali ibn al-Madini, Ilal of Imam Ahmad, Ilal al-Tirmidhi, al-Kabir, Ilal ibn Abi Hatim, Ilal al-Darqutni, والسنن الكبرى والنساء وغيرها. وفي بيان الأحكام والمسائل كتب القدماء من أئمة المذاهب الأربعة وكتب فروع كل مذهب ولم نكتفي فيه غالبا على نقل الغير وسميناه بكفاية al-Mughtadhī. And really this book is genuinely like sufficient for anyone who were to do mutala from it and study it. And it's a hadith teacher's dream book. Every chapter, and this is important, and I want you to remember this comment, it's like as though every chapter is a treatise on the topic. So take any chapter, take for example this one, باب ما يقول إذا دخل الخلاء. When you go into it, it'll actually feel like he's giving you a full treatise or mini treatise on this whole topic. It's like he's covered everything you need to research on the topic itself. So that's why this book is really, really interesting. And you get these type of vibes as you're reading it of Ma'arif al-Sunan of Allama Bannuri rahimahullah. And you get that feeling as you're reading it, even the layout and the way he comments, it's very similar to Allama Bannuri, but so much more. When we now get into a random chapter, so let's just pick up a random chapter, or let's get into a chapter of the book. So I'm going to try to just choose this at random. I haven't planned this. So let's just take Babu ma ja'a min al-rukhsati fi dhalik. Or rather, let's choose another chapter because that's connected to the chapter before it. So I want to choose, just bear with me, I'm going to find a random chapter. We're going to choose, what was this one? Babu nahi anil bawli qa'iman. Babu nahi anil bawli qa'iman. So this is a chapter of Tahara. You can see he presents at the top, you can see the ibarah, the statements of Imam al-Tirmidhi rahimahullah, and then at the bottom the sharah starts. You got two colors, you're playing with basically red and black, so it adds a little bit of aesthetics there as well. Again, this is this is published more or less in Bangladesh, and it's still a good print. I honestly think if you're going to wait for the Beirut edition, you're missing out. There's nothing really patently wrong with this edition. It's fantastic for the eyes. Whatever some people are very particular about their copies, I just think just use it, it's beneficial. So you can see he starts off حدثنا علي بن حجر قال أخبرنا شريك عن المقدام بن شريح. He now goes into each rawi. علي بن حجر أخبرنا شريك عن المقدام بن شريح قوله عن أبيه. You can see he's literally وضعفه يحيى القطان جدا وتوسط فيه ابن معين فقال ثقة إلا أنه لا يتقن ويغلط وقال أيضا صدوق ثقة إلا أنه إذا خالف فغيره أحب إلي وقال أبو حاتم صدوق وقد كان له أغاليط. So you can see, and to a large degree, everything is referenced. A few places I did find, a number of places, I do think maybe they should fill in those references just so that there's no issues later on. And then after that, you can see obviously one of the most important features of Imam al-Tirmidhi's books is Wafil Bab. So you can see he does full takhrij of Wafil Bab. Wafil Bab and Umar wa Buraidah. Then قوله من حديثي. Then this one, there's a very short amount in the Wafil Bab, so you can't really see the full expertise, but we'll choose another chapter a bit later on. But you can see he's done takhrij of the Umar hadith and the Buraidah hadith. أخرجه البزار والطبراني في الأوسط. After that, he does full kalam, and he does a full speech on different topics of the hadith. So he'll even have all the evidences of each scholar, as well as the positions. When he presents the positions, he won't just present the position of one or two scholars. So for example, you can see he'll quote directly from sometimes Ibn Abd al-Bar. قال ابن عبد البر في الاستذكار بعد أن حكى جوازه عن علي وأبي هريرة وابن عمر وسعد بن عبادة وزيد بن ثابت وسعيد بن المسيب ومحمد بن سيرين والشعبي وعروة بن الزبير ويزيد بن الأصم والحكم من أجاز البول قائما فإنما أجازه خوف ما يحدثه البائل جالسا في الأغلب من الصوت الخارج عنه إذا لم يمكن التباعد عنه عمن يسمعه. So you can see he's giving you all the different opinions. Perhaps, and this is just a slight correction that I don't think really will make a massive difference, it would have been good to have subheadings so that we get the mas'ala, we get the aqwal in a more organized manner, but really it is very, very well organized. In fact, in certain places he'll present the dalail and then the jawabat followed straight after it with subheadings as well. So subheadings are found in certain places. Now, I want to give you a few unique features of the book because I have read a decent portion of the first volume. So if we go to page 201 firstly, so this is an incredible section here, wherein if you have a look at this carefully, so you've got a tahqiq here of whether it's masah of a quarter of the head or 3 fingers. So is it a quarter of the head or is it 3 fingers according to the Hanafi madhab? And this is a mukhtalafi mas'ala within the Hanafi madhab. So he presents all of the different statements of the Hanafis, وَفِي تُحْفَةِ الْفُقَهَا فَفِي الْأَصْلِ. Then he gives you the actual statement of al-Asl, by the way. Not very often do people go back to al-Asl, which is the actual most important book in the Hanafi madhab in terms of authority. But he will quote all the later books as well, going through he's rigorously explaining this mas'ala, and then later on now, he'll actually give you the statement of Shaykh Mufti Abdul Malik as well. So this is another unique feature of the book. Very often he will quote two statements of Mufti Abdul Malik because he is someone who has kind of studied. They also seem like contemporaries and friends as well in general, but he seems to have studied under Mufti Abdul Malik as well. So he now is going back to al-Asl. وَبِدَلِيلِ مَا جَاءَ فِي أَوَّلِ كِتَابِ الْأَصْلِ قَدْ بَيَّنْتُ لَكُمْ قَوْلَ أَبِي حَنِيفَةَ. So he's using al-Asl, which is very, very unique, to kind of come to a final conclusion. And as you can see, as I mentioned about the subheadings, you can see here Dalailu Abi Hanifa. He's presenting the Dalail, 3 Dalail for the Hanafi madhab. This is very good because if you're a teacher, you want to present everything in an organized manner to the students. You can just quote this directly or summarize this into your own writings. Then on page 211, you've got an absolutely incredible tahqiq here, which is Imam al-Tirmidhi rahimahullah says with regards to this hadith that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam أنه مسح رأسه بماء غير فضل يديه. Then he says وروى ابن لهيعة هذا الحديث عن حبان بن واسع عن أبيه عن عبد الله بن زيد أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم توضأ وأنه مسح رأسه بماء غبر فضل يديه. ورواية عمرو بن الحارث عن حبان أصح. Imam al-Tirmidhi says, look, Ibn Lahi'a has narrated this hadith like this. Now you go to all the different nuskhas of the kitab, right? And all of the different people who spoke about Tirmidhi at this section, they said Imam al-Tirmidhi seems to have made a mistake. Ibn Lahi'a's narration is not ghabara, it's actually the same as Habban's. It's actually ghayri. So, but then you can see how the author delves into this. So he says, كذا في النسخة الهندية المتأخرة وفي النسخة الأحمدية بما غبر فضل يديه وعليها اعتمد الغنغوهي والمدني. This is another unique feature. He'll quote quite a bit of Hazrat Gangohi rahimahullah's, Shaykh Hussain Ahmed Madani's, and also other scholars as well. He'll quote quite often Shaykh al-Hind as well. And then he explains here وفي طبعة بولاق, he explains وهو كذلك عند فضل الله التوري بشتي في الميسر. He carries on واختاره أحمد شاكر. He's saying all of these scholars came to the conclusion that it's بماء غير فضل يديه, or basically in these نسخas anyway. واختاره أحمد شاكر في طبعته وكذا البنوري في معارفه وأظن ذلك خطأ في نسخ الترمذي هنا فإن الترمذي رحمه الله عقد الخلاف في هذا الحرف بين عمرو بن الحارث وبين ابن لهيعة فعنده أن رواية كل منهما تخالف الأخرى ولذلك رجح رواية عمرو ويفهم من كلامه أن رواية ابن لهيعة تدل على أن مسح الرأس لم يكن بماء جديد بل كان بفضل الماء الباقي في اليدين. So basically Imam al-Tirmidhi seems to understand the difference between the hadith that he's presenting and then the hadith of Ibn Lahi'a. But scholars seem to have found that it's the nuskhas of Ibn Lahi'a, or when you go back to Ibn Lahi'a's hadith, it's no different than بِمَاءٍ غَيْرِ فَضْلِ يَدَيْهِ. There is no ghabara. However, so he says فبناء على رواية هؤلاء خطأ أحمد شاكر الترمذي أو شيخه الذي روى عن ابن لهيعة وادعى أن رواية ابن لهيعة كرواية عمرو بن الحارث وأن نقل الترمذي عن ابن لهيعة أن روايته مخالفة لرواية ابن الحارث نقل غير صواب. This is where the author really shows to you his abilities of research. So he says ولكن بعد الرجوع إلى المسند من تحقيق الشيخ شعيب الأرناؤوط وجدنا أكثر نسخه سوى الميمنية متفقة على أن رواية ابن المبارك عن ابن لهيعة إنما هي بلفظ بماء غبر من فضل يديه. وصنيع الإمام أحمد أيضا دال على أن هناك فرقا بين رواية ابن المبارك وبين رواية موسى. He carries on إذن نستطيع أن نقول إن حديث ابن لهيعة اختلفوا عليه في هذا الحرف. Then after that he even says that why do you think this happened? This is probably because Ibn Lahi'a's books got burnt. فمست الحاجة إلى الترجيح ونرى أن يحيى بن حسان وموسى بن داود, these are all narrators from Ibn Lahi'a, أخذوا عنه بعد احتراق كتبه فتكون روايتهم عنه ضعيفة بخلاف ابن المبارك فإنه من أصحابه القدماء الذي. So it's not just that he solved the issue by going back to Musnad. He then, you could say, there's more gharbala, or he codifies it further by saying, look, in Musnad, who is narrating from Ibn Lahi'a? It is Abdullah ibn Mubarak, and therefore he is one of those people who narrated from Ibn Lahi'a before his books got burnt. So again, this is stuff which it would take quite a few years to come to this conclusion, but you're getting it, and it's like the author is just giving you his entire research in just a matter of minutes. On page 214, again, you're going back to al-Asl, you can see we've got that example, but we've got some more examples of him going back to al-Asl, which I'm going to present it very soon. If we look on page 201, so I have actually noted one here as well. So this one, I think we've already been through. Sorry, so 214. 214, this is, do you need to take new water in order to do masah of the head? Right? So he, again, same thing we noticed with that previous mas'ala about the quarter of the head or 3 fingers. He does a full تحقيق. قال ابن عبد في منحة الخالق في بحر رائق مجتبى تاتر خانية المحيط. He's going through all of them. Then what does he do finally? قلت قال محمد في الأصل. He goes back to al-Asl. This is so unique to see an author doing this, going back to al-Asl, solving the whole issue, and then he gives a response to Hakim al-Shaheed, and really fantastic, incredible tahqiq here as well. On page 235, you got the issue of, are you allowed to do masah on your feet, or do you have to wash your feet? And you got the Shias and their whole argument about being able to do masah on the feet. So he says وَاحْتَجَّ مَنْ لَمْ يُوجِبْ غَسْلَ الرِّجْلَيْنِ, and then he goes through all of their dalail. And by the way, for each one, then after that, this is followed by an answer for each one. وَالْجَوَابُ عَنْ احْتِجَاجِهِمْ بِالْآيَةِ وَأَمَّا قِرَاءَةُ الْجَرْ فَالْجَوَابُ عَنْهَا مِعُنْ وُجُوهٍ أَوَّلًا. And then he goes into ثَانِيًا ثَالِثًا رَابِعًا خَامِسًا سَادِسًا, all of the answer. وَأَمَّا حَدِيثُ عَلِي فَالْجَوَابُ عَنْهُ مِنْ وُجُوهٍ 1, 2, 3. الْجَوَابُ عَنْ احْتِجَاجٍ بِقَوْلِ أَنَسٍ. Again, even if you're not going to quote all of this for students, but it's beneficial for a teacher to be aware of all of this. You can see the subheadings are helping here. He's got Tanbih, tells you something about what Allama Alusi has written in his tafsir as well. So he's quoting from literally like so many different places. Then in fact, on page 235, he'll even sometimes help to find a few mistakes that have taken place in the actual tab'ah of certain kitab. So here as well on this page, there is an example of him finding a mistake in the actual tab'ah of al-Mu'jam al-Kabir of al-Tabarani, which we know already is not a fantastic print. Then on page 393, you see the author literally giving you a summary of about 6 different books. 393, he says as well that I've literally read like 6 books in order to give you the summary of all of this. So if you look here on page 393, he quite explicitly tells you he's given you the summary of about 6 different books that he's read. So he says وَبِهِ يَقُولُ مَالِكْ فِيمَا هُوَ الْمُخْتَارُ عِنْدَ أَكْثَرِ أَصْحَابِ وَاتَّفَقُوا عَلَى أَنَّ مَسَّ الذَّكَرِ. He is discussing the issue of touching your private parts, there's a big wudu. And then he says وَهَذِهِ خُلَاصَةُ مَا فِي الْمُدَوَّنَةِ وَمَوَاهِبُ الْجَلِيلِ وَالرَّوْضَةِ وَمُغْنِ الْمُحْتَاجِ وَالرَّوْضُ الْمُرْبِعِ وَالْإِنصَافِ. And you can see for every madhab, he goes back to the book of that madhab. You can see he's quoting Mawahib al-Jalil, Rawdah of Imam al-Nawawi, Mughni al-Muhtaj. You can see all of the main books, Khatib al-Sharbini's Mughni al-Muhtaj, Rawd al-Murbi, all of them he's going back to the original books of each madhab. Then on page 402 as well, we learn a little bit about the organization within the book. It's really good. So you've got here this idea that when it comes to the whole concept of touching your private parts, is the hadith of Talq ibn Ali, is it mansukh? So we've got 4 premises that we need to be true in order for us to label the hadith as mansukh. So he goes through each of the premises and he shows how these premises won't work. أما الأمر الأول وأما الأمر الثاني فدعوى مجرد. Then he says أما الأمر الثالث أما الأمر الرابع. So an absolutely excellent answer for this whole discussion. In detail, I don't think you will find a book like this, 10 volumes, but this is just 1 volume on Kitab al-Tahara. There's another volume on Kitab al-Tahara as well, so there's 2 volumes on Kitab al-Tahara alone. Just imagine how much benefit you will get from reading this book. So I actually feel there are a few slight improvements, like for example, these are really petty, minor things, and to be honest with you, I would probably have made far more mistakes. But here as well, for example, he says وَالَّذِي حَكَاهُ إِسْحَاقَ الْكَوْسَجِ فِي مَسَائِلِ الإمام أحمد وإسحاق قال إسحاق الذي أختار أن يغسل مقدمهما مع الوجه. So he's saying that although Imam al-Tirmidhi has mentioned this opinion from Ishaq ibn Rahway in Masail Ishaq ibn Rahway, Masail Imam Ahmad wa Ishaq of Ishaq al-Kawsaj, it's got it slightly like this. But as really, Imam al-Tirmidhi was relying upon this book when he came to the aqwal or statements of Imam Ahmad and Ishaq ibn Rahway. He would actually rely upon Ishaq al-Kawsaj's book, and this is kind of like quite well known. And then certain bits in organization, but here's another good example of organization, by the way. You can see وَاسْتَدَلَّ الْأَئِمَّةُ الثَّلَاثَ عَلَى إِسْتِحْبَابِ تَجْدِيدِ الْوُضُوء 1, 2, 3. For a teacher, this is gold mine. None of our books really do this in terms of shuruhat. Even Fathul Bari, Al-Ain is Umda is probably quite a bit organized, but even that, it doesn't do it like this, 1, 2, 3. So this is really brilliant. وَاسْتَدَلَّ الْجُمْهُورَ عَلَى أَنَّهُمَا مِنَ الرَّأْسِ بِمَا يَلِي 1, 2, 3. Every hadith is presented with this type of all the dalail, answer for every dalil, and that is really just what a teacher is looking for in class. So there are a few minor improvements, but it's absolutely an amazing book. It has changed my life. It saved me so much time, And this is not to say it's going to make us lazy, that just by relying on this book now we won't rely on any other book. We can go deeper, we can go further. But like I said, for every single hadith, for every single chapter, you are getting literally a small risala, a small treatise on the topic, such that if you were to, I honestly believe that if a person who teaches Tirmidhi or any other book of hadith, if he were to use this book and covers the entire book of hadith that he's teaching cover to cover, I can honestly say he's now had a bird's eye view of all the major chapters of Sharia and all of the various madhahib in a decent amount of detail. So that's why this book is a really must buy. Get yourself a copy of this book, benefit from this book, you will not regret it. I hope you enjoyed this video. It has been something more related to hadith, so I hope you benefited from it. If you do benefit from it and you think others would benefit from it, please share it with others. I hope you get a copy of this book, and until the next video, Jazakumullah khair wa ahsanal jazaa. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.